FanDuel and
need the
Fridays,
commentary?
they go together like peanut butter and jelly. And right now, FanDuel's giving new fans a way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. So before tip-off, make sure you're checking the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during the NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30. A little basketball, a little action, a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Kevin Stefanski's out. The Browns have lined up head coaching interviews. And before we talk about the two candidates who are officially coming to Berea to interview for the job, let's talk about both the hottest candidate on the market. That is John Harbaugh, who parted ways with the Ravens. He was fired. He parted ways. It was mutual. It was not. Who knows the exact reasoning? But he is out in Baltimore after 18 seasons. In those 18 seasons, he made the playoffs 12 times. He has a 180 and 113 career record in the regular season. It's 193 and 124 if you include his playoffs. He won a Super Bowl. He has 8 road playoff wins. That is the most road playoff wins in the history of the NFL. He also has family ties to Cleveland. So, Bull.
Yeah.
Is there any realistic shot that John Harbaugh, who is no longer the Baltimore Ravens head coach, could end up as the Cleveland Browns next head coach?
I would have said 100% no. I had Zach on my podcast this morning, and I said, would Harbaugh even take a call from Jimmy Haslam? And Zach said, yeah, he would, probably. He would take a call. I mean, maybe Jimmy offers him so much money that he can't refuse it. But I think in the end, I'd be beyond stunned if Harbaugh took a job, if John Harbaugh took a job with the Browns. Obviously, there's better options, there's better owners, there's better
quarterbacks.
You would think the other, what are there, 6 teams that have openings? You would think all 6 he would be their top choice.
7, including the Ravens now.
Right, but besides the Ravens, that he would have. You would think all 6 of those teams would want Harbaugh to be their coach.
And a real quick, Bull, it's worth mentioning that Schefter has tweeted out and reported that 9 teams have reached out to John Harbaugh.
9 teams?
9.
Some teams with coaches still.
And Miami has now been confirmed as a team that, despite
I
having
hope
Mike
the Bengals
McDaniel
are one
still
of
as
them.
head coach, has reached out. So the Dolphins are one of the 3 teams that we know have also reached out.
Right.
There apparently are 2 other, if you want to believe the reports from
Wow,
Schefter,
those teams are so
2
dumb. I get it. Well, they're not dumb, actually, because it goes with my theory, as always, that most coaches are just fine. And unless you can get a special coach, it's not always necessary to move off the coach you have. But I don't know. I'd be stunned if he ends up with the Browns. But certainly, this is a time, I rip Jimmy all the time, but this is a time where he needs to take advantage of the only thing he does right, which is spend money
and open the
and say, whatever it takes, whatever you want. You want me to fire Andrew Berry? Gone. You want me to whatever. That's what he should do.
Well, who was it last night that said, I think it was Steve Weish of NFL Network said that, this is the one coach that a team would basically fire their GM for this guy, and he could bring in whoever he wants or just do it all himself. And when I saw that, I thought that, okay, well, he's clearly talking about the Browns.
Yeah.
Because the Browns are keeping their GM. They fired their coach. And I don't know, man. It's
Bring Ozzie out of retirement to be the GM.
I would offer
Ozzie
anything for Harbaugh.
Anything.
Whatever
he wanted. And I thought it was time for him to go from Baltimore, but he's still a great coach.
18 years is a long time to be anywhere.
It was time to move on. But he's one of the 5 or 6 best coaches in the league. So whatever it takes.
And Dustin, you played for him for a little bit?
Yeah, he was. So when I was in Philadelphia, he was my special teams coach and then became our secondary coach. So, yeah, I was with him every day.
He looks really young. You probably look like a baby under that helmet.
That was 20 years ago.
Yeah. 20 years ago.
So 2006.
Hard to believe, huh?
Man. And that's a good HD camera, too.
Yeah.
For 20 years ago, that's in high definition, 1080p.
What was he saying to you? Do you remember that moment?
No.
I can't cuss on the show anymore.
Yeah. Oh, so he was cussing at you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's good. You kind of like it.
It was after I just missed the tackle on Charles Woodson as a gunner.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, he was a great coach. He really demands a lot out of his players, but he's like a fun guy to play for. He always had energy, like the most energy
Yeah.
of any coach I think I've ever been around. And if you're a special teams coach, you have to bring that juice every day.
Right, yeah.
And do you think about this? Like he went from essentially being his whole career as a special teams coordinator.
Yeah.
He was a position coach for like a season.
Yeah.
I think it was 2007, and then he took that job.
Yeah.
The next year.
And he was the second longest tenured coach.
Yeah, because he was there. Was he there 2008 or 2007?
His first year in Baltimore was 2008.
So 2008, yeah. So 2007, I was in camp with him in Philadelphia. 2006 season, we were together in Philadelphia, and then he was a position coach, and then because of his time as a coordinator, as a special teams coach, he got the gig. He interviewed really well, and man, he's just such a good. I loved him.
Yeah.
I love being around him. I remember one day in practice when we were doing a special teams drill, and he said to me, he said, why'd you get cut? He's like, you're a 3rd round pick. He's like, you went to Ohio State. You're a great athlete.
Yeah.
He's like, what's missing? What am I missing? He said to me. He was like, call me in practice. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday because I'd never been called out like that.
Right.
And it really lit a fire under my ass.
Really?
Yeah.
Great coaches know how to push the right buttons with the right people.
The right buttons, man.
So, I take it, and I'll ask you this question. Is it, as a special teams coach, because you're dealing with so many different people and you don't really have a specific position that you're coaching every single day, do you think that enhances his communication skills, and is that like one of his strong suits of how he's able to get what he needs?
You also think about like when you're a special teams coordinator, you're essentially like kind of like a head coach in some ways because you're dealing with so many players from the roster, offensive players, defensive players, the kickers, the punters. I mean, like you're like a strength coach in college. You essentially have the heartbeat of the team. You know what's going on, the pulse of the team, if you will. And Harbaugh did that when he was a special teams coach, and so that's why I think he translated well to being a head coach because he already had the ability to communicate. I mean, his brother was a great coach, great player. His father was a coach. It's just, I don't know. It would make a lot of sense. He's got Ohio ties. I just think that what would be holding the Browns back is everything we talked about yesterday.
Yeah,
dysfunction.
If he let's assume all the other teams are interested, which I think is a pretty safe assumption. All the teams that are open. Like he can go to the Raiders and he gets to pick whatever quarterback he wants from this draft. He could go to the Giants and he's got Jackson Dart. Maybe he doesn't like Jackson Dart, but at least there's a guy who was a first-round pick that's there. In Atlanta, we'd have a good owner. That guy's one of the best owners in the league. And I don't know what he feels about Michael Penix, but he was a first-round pick in the draft. Same thing with Cam Ward in Tennessee. Arizona is kind of more like the Browns situation. And who am I forgetting? The Giants. No, I said the Giants.
You said the Giants.
Who did I forget?
I mean, Miami, if you want to
Miami's
include them,
in the mix
because
now,
they
right?
called.
Well, but no, of the teams that have an opening. I feel like there's one team.
You say Vegas?
You said Vegas?
Yeah.
Well, Cleveland, the Ravens, the
Arizona,
Cardinals,
Giants,
Titans, and Falcons. You named them all.
Right, okay. I guess we did hit them all.
Gee, what do you think about Harbaugh? And would you move heaven and high waters to bring him to Cleveland?
So I was on the way in and I was thinking about the context of what's going on with these coaches. And, I thought to myself, man, this is a lot like speed dating. Like, this is a lot like online dating because, people used to always say, man, show me a supermodel and I'll show you somebody who's tired of her. I'll show you a dude that's fed up with her stuff.
Yeah.
And, you look at it, and I did a little bit dive in about what Ravens fans think of Harbaugh, and it's funny. They have a little bit of the same stuff going on here. When you hear about Harbaugh, in the Lamar Jackson stuff, it's like those fans and a lot of people is like, oh, it was time. They got to go. There's a bunch of people, and I thought it was funny because every fan base has their own relationship. And one thing that popped up, what Bull said, and he says this a lot, you say, we're into our teams and we're hyper-focused on everything we do. We don't know. We're not watching the ins and outs of the Baltimore Ravens. It's 2 games. We just watching. We play them 2 games, and then we watch them in passing if it's a game on TV.
And the less often your team plays a team, the less you know.
The less you know.
I know more about the Ravens and Steelers than I do the Falcons.
Right.
And the Cardinals, but still.
Well, we don't know.
But not like the Browns.
We don't know the ins and outs of, I'm looking at it, they're like, oh, the reason they was let go is because He apparently wanted to keep Todd Monken, and people didn't like Todd Monken because he's abrasive with their personality. And then they talked about sometimes like they didn't like the in-game situations, and then there's the conflict with the quarterback and some
Monken and Lamar supposedly had some friction.
Yeah, it had some friction. So it's weird because we got the same thing. There's people here that is split on Kevin Stefanski. Some people else is like, what the heck is Cleveland doing? Why would they get rid of Stefanski? He's the top guy on the list. Bring him over here. Mm-hmm. So now it's kind of the same thing with Harbaugh. Now look, his resume is impeccable. I think they would have 3 losing seasons. And out of those 3 losing seasons, Lamar Jackson was hurt for the majority of 2 of those seasons. If you want to talk about it, under him, Lamar Jackson won 2 MVPs. And he did it in a way where a lot of people, when Lamar Jackson came out of college, they didn't think he was going to be able to turn into a passer and continue to run and do some things like that.
Lamar for sure has developed under Harbaugh.
Definitely developed under him. So there's this thing where, okay, what have why did you get fired this year? And what are you going to do moving forward? And what are the pieces of parts that look like in Cleveland? For me, I just don't have, I'm going to let y'all know, I can't have strong feelings either way because I just don't know. It's too many question marks. Like, what does the owner think? What does the GM think? What do they want? Like, what are they looking for somebody to come in and do with the quarterback? Yeah. So I'm looking at these names, and it's like speed dating. You just got to go on an interview and go on a date and see how it work out.
Harbaugh's got by far the best track record of any of these guys, but it's not a guarantee. We've seen a lot of veteran coaches be great and then go to another stop and stink. We saw Gruden with the Raiders. We've seen Pete Carroll. I know it's his 3rd stop. 1 year with the Raiders and he's out. We've seen who am I forgetting now? I was just going to say Joe Gibbs went back to Washington second time around.
I feel very confident in saying this. If John Harbaugh couldn't turn it around in Cleveland, nobody can.
I mean, he's still young enough too. As opposed to like a Pete Carroll.
I just said the energy. The energy is off the charts, man. And by the way, I ran into Harbaugh on the sidelines like a few years ago at a Browns game. And he remembered, like we talked like we were in the locker room again. I mean, I haven't seen him in like 20 years.
That's very impressive.
That is cool.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Funny, I mean, this is before the game. I mean, he's on BSing on the sidelines. Right. He remembered the fact that one day in the offseason, we were doing a drill, a DB drill, like not a practice, but just working out together. And I accidentally kneed him in his thigh, and he got this bruise, this contusion, where he couldn't walk for like a week. Oh, and he never forgot it. And he brought it up to me again.
Funny.
This is a really good. It's a really good story, and it shows what I'll be talking about all the time. That right there is a unique characteristic of an awesome leader. Like when you go to these trainings and seminars and different things, they tell you how valuable it is to give somebody a firm handshake, remember their name, look them in the eye, remember a story. Like that endears me. That endears people. Like Dustin, this is years ago, 20 years ago. He's sitting on a show talking about a potential candidate, and you see the way he's able to light up and say, "I know for a fact." Everybody that talks about him, and think about it, that's just one person. And that's for one person for 20 years. Yeah. Think about how many other people he's impacted. Yeah. And that type of energy.
Hundreds and hundreds of players.
That type of energy is special.
It's a great point. And great leaders, it's not about what you do. It's about how you make people feel.
Right.
And to be able to have that. And like when he did that little comment to me, it made me feel special. And so he does that with all his players.
I mean, finding that balance. We always talk about. I talk often about the balance between like analytics and heart, but there's also coaches have to find, especially nowadays, a balance between like hard ass and love to players to get the most out of them, and that's not easy to do. And to your point, G, about other people. I saw like one of the guys I used to work with in New York. He was like, if we don't get Harbaugh or Stefanski, we have failed this. I'm like, putting Stefanski with Harbaugh on the same class.
It's the same level.
Because people because all they see is the guy won two Coach of the Year awards.
And then they like, but look, and then they even look, he won the last 2 games. Yeah. Like look at
he won games with Cleveland.
Like people, so it's very difficult because we're not in the city. But if you go poll the audience, here's what I love it. I love when I need to really feel how the way people feel. I don't go to Twitter. I go to Reddit. I like the anonymous crazy comments that people like. I go on Reddit, so I'm looking on there and they're like, and it was mixed. A lot of people was like, yeah, Todd Monken's offense. It's ironic because Harbaugh wouldn't get rid of Todd Monken. Monken had a little bit of a issue with Lamar Jackson, but the passing game looked better. But some people say it's a mixed bag. Some of this in game, they had Derrick Henry off the field. But it's funny because now Todd Monken is being mentioned, as we'll talk later in the show, about the first guy coming in for an interview, and he was here before.
Todd Monken, Zach Jackson called him a grumpier Kevin Stefanski. I don't know. He's
kind of surly. People in Georgia said the same thing.
By the way, if you're hiring Harbaugh, that's above Andrew Berry's pay grade. Because I gotta believe if there's any chance that Harbaugh would take this job, Berry would have to be gone. There's no way he's taking this job.
That's what I was going to ask. And G, I'm curious because I know you were adamant about keeping Berry. Me and Bull were fine with leaving. If Harbaugh said, "Yeah, I'll come, but I want full control over the roster. I want to be the GM and the head coach."
I wouldn't say
adamant. Take that?
Well,
I would say adamant. I would say I could see why they kept him. But here's the thing. If you talk about Harbaugh, right now, I look at it almost like a variable situation. So one of the reasons I think it's only maybe it's probably a 10% chance he shows up to this job is because he don't need a job right now. Like he don't 18 years. I got a Super Bowl. I got a track record. If he don't get the perfect opportunity, he not going. There's no reason to take it. It's like once you've been in the industry for so long, right? And you get to a point where you reach a certain level, you're not on the grind no more, and then you may move from other places, and you got maybe 10 years left, maybe 8. You're not gonna just be taking any willy-nilly job. You're gonna take it. He gotta have the right infrastructure. He gotta have the right sort of say so. And a dude like that, he's gonna want a level of power where I'm only reporting to the owner. That's the only thing I'm moving
I would
with.
think more than wanting to be the GM also. I don't think he's going to want to. No, he's going to want to be he's going to want to kind of hire the GM.
Well, he's got to bring his guys in.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
He got to be the guys that he spent time with.
I don't think he's looking to be the GM.
No.
But he's looking to have influence over who the GM is.
All the people that he spent time with in Philadelphia with Andy Reid,
Yeah.
and all the people he spent time with in Baltimore for the 18 years he was there. Like Andy Reid, when Andy Reid went to Kansas City, he brought almost all the Philly people with him.
Right,
like his training staff and his GM and his coordinators and this guy. I mean, that's what Harbaugh would do here.
Absolutely. So Harbaugh is in a position to demand whatever he wants.
Yes.
Now, you don't have to give it to him.
And he don't have to
take.
Which is probably why he won't be in Cleveland, because this owner will not give him that power.
Right. He should.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
And you got to also think, too, like, a guy that's been that successful in the division is like, okay, listen, there's a level of expectations that come with it. Like, so here's the thing in Cleveland. We watched the Baltimore Ravens, who we forget are the former Cleveland Browns, win a championship in 4 years. There's this unrealistic expectation that if Harbaugh comes here, that, we better be in the playoffs this year and next year, and we better be on the track record. Like, does he really want to come deal with the unfair expectations and then, on top of that, deal with a startup?
I would. He's going to have high expectations wherever he goes.
Well, I mean,
he's 64. I don't think he's going to want to go.
Yeah, he's not looking for a long-term rebuild.
No, he's not looking at no startup.
The Browns are probably not the right fit for him, but I would do whatever it takes to hire him.
I would say, and plus, a guy like him, I mean, I would say he's more of a guy that's at that age and level.
Okay, I'll just tell you something right now. His age may say 64, but he's not his body and his mind, he's not a day over 50.
Energetic. Energetic. He got the energy level. I think New York would be a better look.
I know guys who were 50 that
I can't believe
act
he's
older than this guy.
Yeah, I can't believe he's 64.
He looked like he run at 3 a.m.
If I'm him, I'm like,
you see him squatting at 315?
Yeah, that was wild.
I'm like, who do I like more? Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, the quarterbacks in this draft, or Michael Penix? And whoever's number one on my list, that's the job I take if I'm him.
Now, here's what I would say. I wouldn't take, if I was him, I'm looking for specific cities. Like, I'm looking at quality of life. I'm looking at your roster. And I'm like, I like Cam Ward.
Well, we don't know what his priorities are. Like, quality of life is subjective. It depends on what you're looking for.
I would be like, you know what? Do I really want to be outside? Nah, I'm cool on in Cleveland. Do I really want to go Tennessee? I like Cam Ward, but I don't know what other stuff they got around him. They ain't got nothing. That's too much of a. I don't want to have a major build. I want to have a couple of things already in place.
Yeah.
And then if I feel I can take my staff with me and add to it, we could be a quicker little.
I think I know this is not such a bold thing, but I think Atlanta, the Giants, or the Raiders are probably the top 3.
I would say that.
Right? Because
for him.
Atlanta's the best owner. If he cares about weather and stuff like that. Obviously, the New York market, that's very appealing to some people. A lot of people like Jackson Dart.
Harbaugh grew up a Browns fan.
He did.
Dad from about an hour and a half south. Mom from, I think his mom went to Shaw High School.
But will Jimmy do what it takes to get him? That's the question.
That's
going to include how stupid would he look? I say he'd look stupid if he fired Andrew Berry now, but if it was because of bringing in Harbaugh, I don't think anybody would complain about it.
Oh, and if you're Andrew Berry right now, you got to be shivering your boots.
Absolutely.
Thinking if they bring this guy in,
I'm done. Yeah.
And he's got to know that Jimmy Haslam is very finicky and willy-nilly with his decisions.
Yeah, right.
I think if you looked at it, they'll make a call to him. I think they'll do their homework in the preliminary talks with him. But yeah, I don't think it'll be a conversation, but I don't think he'll seriously consider it. I think he'll.
I'd love to see Myles Garrett play for Harbaugh.
Now, listen, would I take him? Sure. Like, let's keep it. Let's roll. Like, would I take it? Awesome. If today they say, you know what, we gonna skip the pleasantries. We got Jim Harbaugh, John Harbaugh. See, we're gonna do that a lot.
See, if I'm Harbaugh, I want to. The best choice is really the Bengals, but they don't have, because you got the quarterback.
It'd be cool for him, don't you think, to stick it to the Ravens a little bit?
Oh yeah.
Same division.
How do you? What do you think?
Ultimately,
Mike Brown would never pay him.
When you think about just if you want to blow your mind, you think, okay, well, the Browns were stolen by Baltimore.
Yeah.
And then they got this coach for 18 years. Yeah. And what if it's the coach of the Ravens that comes back that gets this thing going?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And bring Ozzie out of retirement to be the GM.
Now Ozzie is very loyal to the Models.
Yeah, but they're dead.
Hey, listen, man, loyalty crosses graves, right?
I don't know. Let's go, Ozzie.
Hey,
bring it back.
Ozzy's getting up there too.
I'd be the GM for like a year or two, get it started, then hand it off to somebody else.
There was the people that asked him. I had a friend who is a really big Browns fan, got to meet Ozzie, and he asked him. He said, he always loved Art Modell because he gave him an opportunity. And at that time, to be a black general manager wasn't a thing. Like, you wasn't getting jobs like
Art
that.
Art Modell, in that vein, in terms of race relations for his time, was a great man. Yeah. Obviously, what he did to screw up his business. Yeah. He's a checker that, it's like my button up and my little undershirt. It's black and white sometimes, but it's more of a shade of gray. Like, you could do something good as a person, but you can also have some things on your report card. It's like, I got to look at that though too. But Ozzie is loyal to him. Yeah.
And I think Ozzie getting up there too.
Ozzie's not only one of the best tight ends of all time, he's one of the best GMs of all time.
I don't
think anybody else.
Unquestionable.
I don't think anybody else has that on their resume.
I mean, what he
great
did,
player and great GM. How many guys?
John Lynch.
Yeah. Lynch has done pretty well.
Yeah, I give you that.
Elway.
Who?
Elway.
Put together that Broncos Super Bowl
got
team.
Manning for the
Broncos.
Yeah. I give it to him.
Yeah, all right. You got 3 guys. That's a pretty short list, though.